How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia, and welcome back to TheBlueShifting. I said that backwards for some reason, but I'm not gonna, it's just weird, it just gotta happen that way. Well, welcome back, and we're officially on the Sachi route. Things going pretty smooth so far. I loved the title for the last episode, Soft-Boiled Sachi. It just worked so well with what was happening. And, yeah, so, again, because we're at the very initial stages of this route, it's pretty much just gonna be the what on earth is going on phase, where I'm probably going to start this episode having nothing really to predict because I don't have enough information, and end the episode probably with less information, but that's okay. It's going to set the stage. I have a lot of faith in the writing. I feel like we've seen so much exemplary character development so far that I really just have blind faith in the game at this point. I will say I've started doing some of my kind of behind-the-scenes research, essentially where I go over the routes on my own, the ones that I'm not going to be covering live. So naturally, the first one I've been going through is the Machina one, and I will say I'm already kind of glad we just didn't get it. It's something. I don't think it's going to be terrible per se. Sure, it'll have some good moments because, I mean, the fact that there are people who do like it, even if they say it's not one of their favorites, that tells me that there's going to be something good, valuable to it. But for now, it's just been kind of cringy. So I'm actually looking forward to having something that's hopefully more interesting, I guess. I don't know. It's coloring my expectations a little bit, but that's all right. Anyway, nothing else to say. Let's jump right in and see what crazy antics we get up to this time. It's pretty common to hear something or other described as a microcosm of society. In particular, school is a highly popular choice. It's practically a cliche that you can judge the health of a country by the condition of its classrooms. That's not good. Also, I would say that there's an entire song that I always heard. It was definitely an older song, but I always heard it played over and over again, so it's kind of ingrained in my memory. It's the High School Never Ends song, which is true. The idea they just transcribed all the stuff and garbage you dealt with in high school and ported it to modern day, or at least at the time, modern day celebrities and their shenanigans, how it's essentially the same thing. It's true. Declining academic performance, drug abuse, and all the way up to violent juvenile crimes. You can interpret pretty much any schoolyard problem as a reflection of the societal decay if you want. But even as someone who tends to look on such arguments with skepticism, it's clear to me that the malign influence of our national slide into depravity has begun to rear its ugly head in the isolated academy of ours. He sounds very, what was happening here? I was about to say, he's reminding me of Facebook posts I see from the older generations, but you know what, fair. What is happening?
もっといい声で泣いてみせろ。同級生の手で感じちまう卑しいメス豚め。
Oh, I see. Okay, just rolling right off the gate here, huh?
そんなに冷めたテンションでぶたれちゃうと、マキナ、いけない子になっちゃうのよさ。
First thing in the morning, a complete random S&M show is unfolding before my eyes. One could only grieve for the future of our nation. Curious to see how the others are reacting to this shameful display. I look around the classroom to find... Yeah. I agree with what you do. I'd be like, I'm just gonna go. I don't need to go to school today. I'll just, pretend I'm just gonna die. A grimacing observer, her face all but saying, "Gah, I thought those two were getting into some weird territory lately, but this is taking things to a whole new level of awkward." I'm actually more disturbed that you seem perfectly content with this. A casual observer humming to herself as she prepares for class, who glances over briefly with an exasperation that reads, "Ah, so that's today's game." Oh gosh, Yumiko. And finally, an observer who feigns total disinterest, even though she peeps past the book in front of her, takes in every moment of the show, an intriguing, colorful range of variation. Perhaps one could interpret this as necessary stimulation to a stagnant group of dynamic?
んなわけないでしょうが、こんな気候を注意しない学校がどこにあるってのよ。
Well...
ここにとかいうボケならいらないわよ。それが分かったらあんたはあれやめさせてきて。
Why is that our job? Pushed forward by Michiru, I reluctantly initiated an intervention with the pair of girls on the teacher's platform. Sachi, mind explaining this?
はい、これは私がマキちゃんのお尻をペンペンしているところです。
Is that spank in Japanese like more casual lingo, like pen pen? Pen pen? Because that's like that's the kind of onomatopoeia, like the pen pen, like smack smack. Yes, I can see that. I'm asking you why you felt the need to do so.
それはマキちゃんにお願いされたからです。
Right. And of course, Sachi, being Sachi, not only took it very literally, but also took it in a very slightly curiously strange direction. She just seems to take subtle things whenever she can. It's interesting. It's definitely one of those manifestations I think of her, like, actual personality that she lets slip out. Not gonna asked for this?
はい、昨日の夜そうお願いされましたから。
What? Okay. Ah. Right. When Sachi came to her senses in Amane's room. Oh, right. Forgot that was last night.
早く元気になって私のお尻をペンペンしてくれるのを待ってるのよ。
That's right. I was so caught up in the events that was going on, I kind of brushed past that.
わかった。
And Sachi's not really capable of recognizing that as a joke. I had an ominous premonition the moment I heard that sentence, but you really did go through with it, in public even.
はい、約束しましたから。
Maybe it felt that way to Sachi, but somehow I doubt Makina was taking it quite that seriously. And then, she's not complaining. She could be running, she could be begging to, hey, no, please stop. I didn't mean it. No, she's embracing it. That's terrifying.
でも、ただお尻を叩かれるだけじゃつまんないから、設定を作ってちょっとしたごっこ遊びにしたのよ。
Oh my gosh. A plot.
そう、今のは同棲を始めて1年が経ったカップルがマンネリを感じてソフト SM にハマるっていう設定だったのよさ。
So in this scenario, it only took a year to hit a rut? That's not good.
ソフト SM?
Oh yeah. Soft isn't like, it's not going full bore. It's just a little bit of, it's just a little bit. Like, they're not pulling out any actual equipment, and I don't think they need a safe word. Pipe down, Peanut Gallery. If you're interested, look it up on the internet in your own time.
しないわよ。
Oh, I'm sure you won't. A denial this unconvincing is a rare thing in its own right.
ねえねえ、さっきから昨日の夜とか約束って何かあったの？
Right, you wouldn't have known. It'd take a while to explain it full, but I'm sure a wise young woman like yourself would already have a rough idea of what occurred, right?
そうね。そんなの私なんだから当然よ。扱いやす。さすがみちる様です。そう？
Oh my gosh.
私ってすごい？
Yes, you are, but that's not the point here. You're just making fun of you, as usual. Still annoying.
はい、悪い意味で。悪い意味で？ってそれ褒められてる私。すごいですから、良くも悪くも抜きん出ているという意味にはなると思います。へえ、そっか。まあ、嘘は言ってないわよね。そうかしら。ふふ意識しなくてもにじみ出る知性。さすが私。
I've been poisoned, I know. I'm sure a lot of you are gonna be like, stop riding the Michiru train. Just like look at the other girls for a bit and give your opinions. But I keep circling back. She's great. And it is unfortunate how often she's just the butt of the joke. Every time. Come on. It's like it feels almost lazy at this point.
確かに、みちるのこういうとこってすごいのかも。そうかしら。
Well, to get back to the point, I can't say I approve of putting an early morning soft S&M show in the classroom.
じゃあ、夜に電気消してなら問題ないのよ。
Frankly, if you keep it to yourselves and don't make a ruckus or cause issues like making loud noises and keeping us up, I'm sure it's fine. Questionable ethically, but that's your prerogative. Your choice of lighting isn't the problem here.
第一、学校で堂々とやるようなことじゃないでしょ。
Actually, depending on the scenario and your professional quirks...
話がややこしくなるから、そういう解釈はなしの方向で。
Yeah. We let's skip to the fact that it's more about like the fact that it's a spectacleized in front of us. You know, we're not comfortable with that part of it. Technically, anything else is on the table as long as it's two consenting people, and technically should be. Well, I would say two consenting adults is the key, but you also got to remember they're in the same age bracket, and so technically it can be consenting. But then you get into some little minutia there that people can argue about, and I'm not gonna touch any more of that. Understood.
というわけで、今後はその遊び禁止。理解はしたけど、納得はしてない。恋する乙女のように複雑な心境なのよさ。
Hey, seems Makina's just on the more open-minded side of things.
さっちゃんも、お尻ペンペンはこれでおしまいにしてね。はい。
As Amane drags Makina away from the scruff of her neck, Sachi heads obediently back to her seat, a satisfied expression on her face. Makina's clearly responsible for turning her spanking into some kind of public humiliation show, but I'm pretty sure Sachi was the one who brought up the topic in the first place. Yeah, he's catching on to what I was kind of trying to mention before. It feels like Sachi lets things slip, like to try and drive a narrative in a specific direction. It probably works for certain people, especially with Michiru and Makina, to kind of plant ideas, like seeds of ideas that grow in a direction that Sachi kind of approves of for whatever reason. But she's tried doing this with Yuuji too, and it's taken conversations in really weird directions that I've been highly almost disturbed by it a few times. But I do feel like it has been the kind of the rumbling thing that, like, for some reason she has these weird, obsessive kind of latches onto specific ideas and keeps trying to offer them up as potential suggestions to just the most, like, innocuous phrases. And for some people, it kind of works in her favor, but for others, it backfires and makes us think, what is wrong with you? I'm curious. I genuinely want to know what's up with that. Dutifully remembering a favor that otherwise might well have been forgotten, she proactively carried it out with genuine enthusiasm. On the abstract level, Sachi sounds like a model class representative, but when you consider the specific details, it's hard to shake the feeling that something strange is lurking beyond her behavior. Agreed. Might be worth seeing what the higher-ups have to say about this. So we're going to Chizuru? After polishing off my simple lunch of homemade rice balls, I head to the principal's office. Having a productive day? Did your wagashi cake complement the tea?
今日は洋菓子の日よ。
Since she answered my violent attempt at small talk with a smile, Chizuru seems to be reasonably receptive to my sudden visit.
それで、用事は何？まさか嫌味を言いにここまで来たわけじゃないんでしょ?
No, but that's always fun. Right, I've got a question for you as the principal of this academy, Chizuru.
何かしら?
I want to ask you something about our class representative, Komine Sachi. Is that it? That is.
目的は分かったけれど、小峰さんっていうのはちょっと意外ね。
Why? She's definitely one of the most... See, that's the thing. Michiru was a giant enigma, like a mystery, but on surface level, from the principal's perspective, beyond the understanding of her circumstances, I don't think she would be seen as the most mysterious of all the girls. Sachi is. She's the one that acts genuinely the most bizarre. Not in a bad way per se, just the most bizarre. What's that supposed to mean?
大はないわよ。ただの感想だから。
Alright then.
で、どうして急に小峰さんのことを?
We had a bit of an incident yesterday. Sachi stayed in a hot bath long enough that she actually fainted. And that was instigated by nothing more than an offhand comment from Makina about counting to 10,000 in the bath.
そう。
You don't seem particularly surprised. Is this sort of behavior a recent development, or have you seen something of this sort before?
そうね。最終的には何ともなかったけど、ヒヤリとさせられたことなら何度かあるわね。
Okay.
一番びっくりしたのは、期末の大掃除の時にロープ一本で校舎の外壁を掃除し始めた時かしら。
Oh my gosh. Come to think of it, I remember someone telling me about that one. Nothing serious came of that?
そこは業者の人にやってもらうから大丈夫って叫んだら、すぐに校舎の中に戻ってくれたわよ。
Wait, she hoisted herself from dangling over the roof by hand up a rope. Like, rope climbs on themselves are feats of very incredible strength, being able to hoist your own body weight up. But being able to do so with well, I guess if she had the wall for leverage, it's not as bad. But that's still really impressive. It's terrifying too, because really easy to have like a simple slip or just a miscalculation leading to a permanent injury, potentially death. But yeah, to be able to have the upper body strength to be able to do that is very impressive. I see. Despite all the strange ideas she gets in her head, it does seem that Sachi consistently listens to reason. That's a silver lining, to be sure.
それで、私からそれを聞いたあなたはどうするつもりなの?
Why do you assume that I'm doing something? I'm mostly curious. At the moment, I don't intend to do anything in particular. If anything, I suppose my short-term objective was just to confirm how much the principal of this school really knows about her pupils.
なるほどね。でも、その点については心配しなくてもいいと思うわよ。
I don't?
ええ。仕事で一度顔を合わせただけだった私があなたに連絡を取れたということが、その証明にはならないかしら?
More cryptic hints about his past. True enough. Somehow or other, the woman I'm speaking with has been entrusted with the control of Mahima Academy as an organization. I suppose it's only natural that she'd be thoroughly familiar with the quirks and the handful of students under her supervision.
これで私への疑いは晴れたかしら?
Yeah, I've once again realized that you're a fine woman.
そう言ってもらえると嬉しいわね。
Smoothly switching her crossed legs, Chizuru offers me a prototypical composed older woman's smile.
ただ、こうしてわざわざ聞きに来てくれたわけだし、あなたが小峰さんについて知りたいというなら、私が持っている範囲の情報を開示してもいいわよ。
Interesting. I wonder if it's just not very complicated or not particularly secret. But I'm gonna guess he's gonna be like, nah, if she wants to tell me, she'll tell me. No, that won't be necessary.
どうして? 彼女のことをもっと知っていれば、今後の学生生活もやりやすくなるんじゃない?
Probably true, but this isn't a job. I don't have any pressing need to know. And there are many people who go around asking a teacher for information on a classmate, are there?
クラスメートね。
Look, it still feels kind of awkward, but I'm making a conscious effort to talk about things like this, like a normal student. Try not to laugh.
そうね。ごめんなさい。でも、そうやって自分に言い聞かせていくのは悪いことじゃないと思うわよ。
Yeah, it's actually pretty healthy that he's actually like actively trying to not let this become a job, which is what his whole life has been, it sounds like. Hope you're right. In between stretches of peace, I plunge into the extraordinary, and between periods where I devote my attention to my part-time job, I return to the ordinary. As that ratio has slowly shifted, I've developed a persistent, nagging discomfort within myself. And there's a part of me that doesn't even want that to change. A part of me that's uneasy about getting too used to this.
もう一度言うけれど、この学園の生徒となったあなたに、私から望むことはありません。
Trust me, he's holding himself to the standards, not you.
あなたの好きなように、思うままに学生生活を満喫してもらえれば満足よ。
If you actually mean that, you've got a pretty eccentric taste in entertainment.
あなたも私くらいの年になればわかると思うけど、ある程度の地位とお金が手に入ると、新しい息抜きを見つけるのも大変なのよ。
Maybe the status is the part of that, but I found that like once I started having actual income and started having ability to like manage my own finances and get out of the initial scrabble that is like in college, just out of college spiral into despair that is trying to figure out how to find your footing. Once you find your footing, I actually found it became a lot easier to find ways to relax. I became better at managing my time. I understand that I have much less free time than I had before, and that can be detrimental for a lot of people, but I've also become really good at isolating free time and being able to throw myself into certain projects. The YouTube channel thing. I tend to prioritize making YouTube. Like, I use almost most of my free time that I do have on this. I do that on purpose. I think that I have a lot of fun making content, and I have to recognize that if I want to make anything meaningful happen on the channel, it has to be a priority over other just more relaxing forms of relaxation, which is ironic to say, but there's work involved in this, but that's not a bad thing. I think that it might not be the pure fun of just pure relaxation, but when I come away from it, I can look back at a catalog of 1,500 videos that I've made on this channel, and I'm very proud of that. I can't look back on like a game I've sunk like 400 hours into, like having fun during those 400 hours, but I can't look back on that 400 hour like statistic and be like, oh, I'm so proud of that, you know? But 1,500 videos on a YouTube channel, I'm proud of that. That's genuinely something I can be like, you know what? Whatever people think of my content, the fact that I can do that is very cool. Judging from the steadily increasing quantity of knickknacks in the office, I guess I can believe it. Even as she speaks, the principal stealthily palms a few desk toys and drops them into a drawer. This instinctive sneakiness might have something to do with how she clawed her way up the ladder. Alright, I think it's about time I headed back. Yeah. I've already eaten lunch if that's what you're worried about. What's that supposed to mean? Oh, gotcha. The principal winks suggestively as she speaks. Unfortunately, I don't quite follow. What does this woman want me to do? She just wants you to have fun, man. Like, she might have a particular idea in her mind, which I can't really speak for per se. I've got some idea. I'm guessing she wants like relationship stuff. But in the long term, I think she just wants you to have fun and feel like a normal person. True enough. In that case, I'll kill some time trying to guess your age, Chizuru. I retract any previous complaints I might have given you. When I return to the classroom, Sachi's eating her lunch by herself. More of her little cake things. For once, she's actually spread out a proper lunchbox, a rare sight indeed from what I've seen. Sachi almost never goes for light, efficient meals. Almost always goes for light, efficient meals. A lunchbox today, huh? I see. For her leftovers lunch, it's a pretty decent spread. At a glance, she's got an omelet with a Vienna sausage, mini tomatoes, and broccoli. Colorful and well-balanced assortment. That does sound good. Doesn't exactly have the master housewife impression of a Mane meal, but it's fair to call it a nicely made lunch. You did cook at Meichiru's request the other day, come to think of it. Are you actually something of a chef? So she has a tutorial or a good recipe, she can replicate things pretty well. That's pretty much the level I'm at. I have started being able to improvise. In fact, I took my favorite chocolate chip cookie recipe and was able to convert it into a double chocolate chip cookie recipe, just using information from other recipes I've kind of cobbled together, being able to understand like how to apply the right levels of cocoa to make it so it had a good flavor without overwhelming or tasting bitter. Which is really, I was really proud of, even though it's not like it's a grand secret, and I'm sure if I just looked up a recipe, I would have got the same answer. But it was fun doing it on my own and realizing like I can experiment and have success in cooking. And it's funny because cooking has become a kind of like a subtle mini hobby where I'm not putting tons of time and effort into it, but I get excited about exploring new ideas. In fact, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to a local farm. We're going to go pick the fresh strawberries that are just coming into season these past couple weeks. I'm going to get like a few pounds of it, and I'm going to experiment. I want to try and make a pie fully from scratch. Because up until now, I've usually used pie filling and then done everything else from scratch. But this time I want to make the pie filling on my own as well, and just make a full pie from my own like 2 hands, which I'm just kind of excited at the challenge. I'm also going to try and make jam for the first time as well, because we go through a lot of jam, and it'd be kind of fun to see if I could make my own. And then, because I also eventually I want to get into canning a little bit. I want to make my own pickles. I want to try and do some canning. I'm just getting really invested in this stuff. I don't know why. It's caught my attention. I'm going for it. As if to demonstrate, Sachi pulls out a cookbook from her desk and flips it open to a photograph of an omelet, and strikingly similar to the one in her lunchbox. No need to be modest, making it look exactly like the book is impressive in its own right.
ありがとうございます。それで、楽器室にある天音さんが使ったフルートをこっそり吹いてしまった疑惑は晴れましたか？
What? What? Yeah.
男子学生が先生と1対1で話をするときは、そういう話をしているものなのでは？
I heard the innuendo in there, but I genuinely I didn't think she meant that. I was like, did she hear some random story and decided it was legitimate? But no, she literally heard the innuendo. What is it with you, Sachi? Your thoughts always run off in these unique directions. I'm glad I'm not crazy. Like it's like they're actively bringing up that this is really strange.
複雑な評価です。
In the first place, why would I be after Amane's spit? Oh gosh, Yuuji. Once the conversation comes to a pause, Sachi smoothly returns to her lunch, carrying the food to her mouth with regular rhythm of a workman on an assembly line. As I'm watching her oddly mechanical behavior, the principal's words flit across my mind. Hey, Sachi.
Hi, なんでろう?
First of all, you can chew and swallow what you've got in your mouth before trying to talk.
わかりました。
With a small nod, Sachi wholeheartedly devotes her attention to mastication for a few moments.
お待たせしました。それで、風見さんが先ほど言いかけたことは。
So formal. Yeah, I was wondering if you have some sort of regular method of letting off steam, you know? Managing your stress.
ストレス発散方法ですか。そういうお話なら、私はあまり参考にならないと思います。
I mean, you must have something, though. Like, if anybody's got a stressful existence on school right now, it's you. Well, okay, to be fair, everyone's got a stressful situation here at this school. But I feel like you're tackling your stress somehow by doing everyone else's stuff. Why not?
私はこの学園にいる間はストレスを感じたことがありませんから。
Really? How is that? Huh. That's honestly pretty hard to swallow, but judging from Sachi's expression, I don't think she's outright lying to me. Yeah. What's up with that? How's that work? You're doing, like, 2 full-time jobs and being a student. And she has no stress. They do say in America, where they don't really have the concept of stiff shoulders, nobody complains of the symptoms. Maybe this is a similar case? Do they say that about America? I don't feel like that. Oh, well, I guess we do. I was recently talking about how there is a culture here where people can be really dismissive of stuff that they're going through that might be making it difficult to do things like work. Like, if you take time off for work, no one's going to complain. No one's going to be like, it's not going to be like you're going to get shamed for it. But at the same time, socially, people just think you're being a baby. And so, while there's no corporal or even like there's no corporate or even like financial penalty usually for taking sick days, there's a social one that can happen where people feel like, oh, you're just taking it easy and making all of us work harder. So maybe that's what he's talking about?
ですから、そういった質問はみちる様にしてみるのがいいと思いますよ。
Oh, right, because she tends to dally in lots of dalliances. So what, does Michiru have some daily stress relief method?
そうだと思います。例えば、
Wait.
この前なんかは。
Uh-oh.
サチ。あ、みちる様。とりあえず、声出さずに私の部屋までついてきて。
I'm concerned.
よし、ひとまず誰にも気づかれなかったわね。いきなり引っ張ってきちゃって悪いわね、サチ。なんで何も喋らないの？宗教的なやつ？じゃあ何？ってそっか、声はもう出していいわよ。わかりました。やっぱりね。
Oh, seriously.
それで私に何かご用でしょうか？ 手頃な大きさのぬいぐるみを持ってたら、私に譲ってほしいのよ。
I don't like where this is going.
種別の指定がないのでしたらいくつかは持っていますが。さすがサチ。じゃああんたのチョイスで一つ選んできてちょうだい。わかりました。私的にはこのウサギさんのぬいぐるみがおすすめなのですが。
Okay.
かわいい感じね。それからサインペンとか持ってない？
What is happening?
はい、こちらに。ありがとう。で、このぬいぐるみの額に
Oh no.
じーって書けば完成。
Oh no. Oh, this poor repressed girl. Holy crap.
なるほど。それを風見さんだと思って抱きしめ、偽りのぬくもりに身を任せるんですね。
I like how Sachi's telling us this.
違うわよ。これはそう。サンドバッグなんだから。サンドバッグですか？そうよ。このぬいぐるみをユージに見立てて、いつでも急所を狙えるように練習しておくの。ストレス発散も兼ねてね。
Now I know why she's telling the story. Because she took it at face value and she assumes that this is a fairly reasonable thing. Even if it were exactly the truth, like that she's actually using it as a pseudo punching bag, it's still a little odd, but not as odd as what's actually happening.
そうですか。ということがありました。
The heck's wrong with that bottle blonde?
よければお揃いのぬいぐるみをお譲りしましょうか？
No, that won't be necessary.
そうですか。
Although it's a little sad to say this to myself, dropping a fancy stuffed animal in the middle of that dreary room of mine would be painfully awkward. And the idea of having a matching set of anything with me to do is somehow even less appealing. Hey! Watch it. Watch it. Anyway, something came to mind while I was listening to all of this. If you really don't relax, what do you do with your free time?
私は基本的に空いた時間というものを作らないようにしています。
Yeah, I feel like I've talked about before how Michiru, I felt like everything that she was doing, like the tsundere act and everything, it was always an attempt to hide herself. Like that she was so scared of who she was deep inside and how like she just felt like she'd be fundamentally rejected, that she was using a front and a persona to protect herself. And I ended up being rather correct there. I think Sachi ultimately is in the same position, but using something different, where she's afraid of herself. Like something inside her she's scared of. Like it's an internal struggle. Where Michiru was terrified of what other people thought of her, I think Sachi's terrified of what she is in, like how she sees herself. And so she just doesn't let herself think. She doesn't want to have any decision making because she doesn't trust herself to make the right choices. So she lets everyone else make those decisions. She doesn't trust herself to be able to make conscious, like, to take ideas and compile them together into a proactive decision or a proactive like stance. And so she lets everyone else dictate what definitions mean and what practices mean and what's legitimate and what's not legitimate. She just goes with the flow of whatever anyone says. And she's constantly trying to fill her time with tasks, like getting people essentially to constantly barrage her with stuff to do, because then she doesn't have the idle hands that are the devil's playground. So I think that's the idea, is we're almost, Sachi is like an inverse of Michiru. Maybe that's again why I decided to go with her, is like on a subconscious level. I just felt like Sachi was almost like, was similar. And now I'm hearing this, I think that is a little bit at least of what's going on here, where she's the Michiru, like a similar circumstance, but an inward facing one rather than an outward facing one. In other words, you're like a shark, always moving when at rest.
いえ、休息するときは普通にベッドで休みますし、口で説明するよりは実際に見てもらった方がわかりやすいと思います。
Are you asking us to follow you around for the day? Well, probably so.
風見さんさえよろしければ、今日にでもお見せできますけど。
Wait, about your day or about sleeping? So what, you're telling me to follow you around from morning to night?
それか、授業が終わってから就寝するまでの時間でしょうか。
From what I understand, Sachi's proposal isn't problematic in terms of the school's rules, but I'm a little hesitant to peep into her private life out of a mere curiosity.
私は気にしませんよ。
I was about to say, like she's offered this. Like, we didn't even, like, plant the seed of this idea. She's offering it. She genuinely doesn't care. So I don't think he needs to feel too bad about it. Like, I understand his hesitation, and that's perfectly valid. But he shouldn't worry about it. Read my mind, huh? Alright, how about after class ends tomorrow?
はい、それでは私も明日は体をきれいにしてお待
And
ちしてい
then
ます
there's
ね。
that little idea that she just slips in. It's like, why? What are you prepping for exactly? After school tomorrow, huh? Things have taken a somewhat strange turn, but I can't deny I've gotten slightly curious about Sachi's way of life. Should be an interesting experience, if nothing else. Wait. That JB? A distinctive droning sound striking out of place in this quiet coastal town? Guess I've got a visitor. As expected, when I head out to the school gate, a genuine blonde emerges from the interior of a prancing horse.
Hi,
Oh my gosh.
調子はどう？
What is that outfit? Not bad as the 3 minutes ago. Unfortunately, my mood just now took a nosedive.
何よ、海外しく会いに来た女に対して最初に言うセリフがそれ？
Yeah, why though? Like, you've always got a motive. If I were really dealing with a woman, maybe I'd be a little more careful with my words, but I was taught to be frank and to that point with my supervisors.
相変わらず冗談が通じないわね。
It's your fault for putting on that ridiculous marble-mouthed airhead act in the first place.
まあ、あなたがこういう女が苦手だってことは知ってるけどね。
Which makes the way you always pretend to be one downright sadistic. So what's with the sudden visit? Some urgent business come up?
いいえ、今日は風見雄二の保護者としてちょっと経過観察にね。
Okay. What, work not keeping you busy these days?
言ってみればこれも仕事のうちよ。
Right. Our job. Fine. We'll leave it at that.
それで何か困っていることはない？設備やお金、それからクラスメートの女の子には相談できないようなこととか。
Not a big fan of the subtext here. The heck? What if I told you I can't control my libido anymore? You're gonna take care of that for me?
そういう気持ちが起こらなくなるくらい仕事を振らせてもらうわ。
Sorry, my bad.
そうそう。お姉さんの質問には最初から真面目に答えておくものよ。
I'll see what I can do.
それで本当のところはどう？
I mean, so far so good. Seriously, I've got exactly no problems with worth mentioning. This place is almost comically well equipped, and my allowance is more than enough for my everyday needs.
そう、それならよかったわ。
You satisfied now?
まあ、あなたの方から連絡がない限り心配ないとは思っているけどね。
Yeah, it's true. Yuji's, he's a scrupulous one, so he's not going to be like overtly demanding or trying to take advantage of anything. That being said, he's never hesitated when he feels he needs something to ask for it. Yeah, that's right.
じゃあ、それとは別に、
What's anything else supposed to mean?
例えば近所の犬が行方不明になったとか、クラスメートの中に気になる子がいるとかね。
You're pretty invested, aren't you? Sorry, but what do you care?
難しく考えなくてもいいわよ。本当にただ気になっているってだけでいいから。
Exactly. After all these years, JB probably knows me better than anyone else alive. I don't think she'd ask me this question for no reason whatsoever. Alright then, let me ask your opinion on something.
言ってみて。
What would you think about someone who's never refused anyone's orders, even once, or turned down a request, for that matter?
それはそういうプレイのお話？
See, that's the thing. You'd think that, but no, this is like a literal thing. No, we're not. I'm asking for your thoughts as my superior on this one.
そうね。
So he's asking like the psychological breakdown, because I think that she's like a coordinator, and I'm guessing that she makes it her job to try and predict the movements of counter operations. And so she has to get in people's heads, especially people's heads who are wholly motivated by forces and influences that she has no real direct connection to. JB slowly brings her hand to her chin, and the next instant her eyes glow sharp and serious. is a familiar sight. I guess you could call it her business face. When JB switches into work mode, she has a habit of putting that expression on like a suit of armor.
もしそういう人間がいたら、真っ先に訓練の線を疑うわね。
Ooh, interesting. I don't think I would have thought of that. Thought as much. There's more. The person in question doesn't seem to experience any stress in their daily life.
それが本当だとしたら、
That's
全くもって羨ましい話ね。
true, but I don't believe it. It feels artificial. I'm with you there.
ただ、ストレスは本人の自覚がないところでも蓄積されていくから、本人が気づいていないだけという場合も十分あり得るわ。
Maybe that's actually what they're going to go for, is this idea that like she has been accumulating tons of stress, but she doesn't really recognize it for what it is. But it has manifested in something that she can recognize that for some reason she's obsessed with. And even though she doesn't consciously bring it up, it's her libido. It's her constantly bringing up these weird, like, sexual fantasies that just kind of crop up in these conversations where she's like almost asking for people to ask her to do things, right? Maybe it's not even like, oh, like she's fetishizing this, or oh, she's like really like hyper fixated on this. Maybe her subconscious is desperate to just let it out, let the stress out, and that's like the way that her subconscious can like figure would work, that wouldn't topple the rest of this castle of, you know, mirrors that she's building around herself to keep herself safe.
人が頭をかく仕草一つとってもストレスの一部なんだもの。
Exactly. So what happens when that builds up without any person in question of even ever noticing it? I guess you could say I'm slightly concerned.
そう。
With that non-committal response is a line of democration? Democration? JB relaxes her face and lets the tension drain out of her body.
保護者の義務としてこの学園のことは簡単に調べさせてもらったけど、やっぱりユージの興味を引くような学生さんがいるみたいね。
Well, you're making it sound like it's beyond a simple, like, concern and just curiosity, but so far, Yuuji hasn't described anything beyond just like, this is strange, and I'm not sure if it's healthy. Yeah. When I get a nagging sense of concern like this, it's almost never just me overthinking things. I've got good instincts, if nothing else. That was the reason I confirmed my impression with Chizuru as well. If I'm not wrong about this, then...
でも、少し安心したわ。
So wait, if she has received training, I wonder if she's been in some kind of similar background to Yuuji, like military, like raised military, orphaned, never had a real family, or at least like separated from a real family a long time ago, and is essentially trained to be everything but human. What is?
ユージからそういう質問が出てきたことに対してよ。
I just tried to give you what you wanted to hear.
だとしても、これまでのあなただったら、そんなものはない。と即答していたはずよ。
Fair. If that were supposed to be an invitation of me, I'd recommend giving up on your dream of becoming a comedian after retirement.
ご忠告ありがとう。でも、ユージくらいの年頃の男の子だったら、おしゃれや女の子に興味があって当然よ。それなのに、あなたが私に聞いてくるのは、いつも火薬臭いことばかりなんだもの。
Well, it's Yuuji. Can't deny it.
でしょ？だからきっと、これはいい傾向よ。じゃあ、定期面談はこれで終わり。しばらくしたら、また顔を出すわ。
Do me a favor, give me a little advance warning next time. It's bad for my heart to have a beautiful woman popping up out of nowhere.
ドキドキ感があった方が嬉しいでしょ？
Smirking, JB slides her sunglasses back into place. With smooth, practiced movements of her hand, she steers the prancing horse away from the school in the blink of an eye and a really loud roar. It's disappeared into the distance. That engine never gets any less obnoxious. Out of consideration for our neighbors, maybe I should stuff some potatoes into the muffler next time I have the chance. That doesn't end well. In any case, JB has a point. If I was still the same person who'd impassively devoted himself to the job, I wouldn't have developed this kind of interest in Sachi's personal life. Quite the opposite, I'd be keeping potential trouble at arm's length. Of course, in this case, my dorm mate's problems might have repercussions for me, but there's definitely a part of this that can't be explained by simple self-interest. Apparently, this change in my thinking is dramatic enough that even it takes even JB by surprise. In that sense, I guess the first problem is I can't even tell why I'm changing. Alright. Matching students of different school years into a single classroom and giving them an identical course of instruction is typically referred to as combined class system. It's most frequently used in rural elementary schools where the low population and limited resources sometimes make it an unavoidable cost-saving measure. I mean, you can't have a teacher for each grade when each grade has one student. Like, that just gets ridiculous.
じゃあこの問題は榊さん、あなたが解いてみて。はい。
I guess Mihama might be called an unusual variation on the system. Amane is a year ahead of me, Sachi and Makina a year below. We're all currently being taught how to solve quadratic functions and factorization. Of course, even in rural areas, they don't tend to squash 3 years into one. You'd usually have to go to South Korea to see anything like this.
それじゃあ小峰さん、ちょっと難しいけど、次の問題を解いてみて。x かっこ 3x マイナス1 だと思います。
Pulled out the exponent.
正解。さすが小峰さん、しっかり勉強しているわね。ありがとうございます。
小峰さんなら国立大学の入試問題でも普通に答えてしまいそうね。
Maybe. Taking in Sachi's effortless response out of the corner of her eye, Sakaki mumbles words of admiration.
私また気づいちゃったかも。
Oh boy, let's hear it.
なに？ツンデレ練習機の電源でも入れっぱなしだった？
違うわよ。もし本当にそんな機械あったら買ってるけど。
I'm sure you would.
買うのかよ。
Okay, so what'd you realize?
もしかしたらサチって先生に当てられて答えられなかったこともないんじゃない？そう言われればそうなのよさ。
That is crazy, actually. She's never had a trouble. As of 2 days ago, I probably would have reacted with the skepticism at this point, but after what I've learned about Sachi lately, this seems all too plausible.
ってことはまさかテストの点も全部満点だったり？
Probably.
いえ、前回のテストもそうなのですが、100点以外の点も取っています。
Oh no, how on earth are you going to recover from missing one question on a test?
それ見たことか。ここにサチの腐敗神話破れたり。
Or is it going to be the other way where she got bonus points?
なんであなたが得意げなのよ。
ごめん、なんとなく。確かに全部というわけじゃないけれど、小峰さんの場合はケアレスミスがほとんどで、常に満点に近い数字よ。
So her mistakes are the things of like, you accidentally forgot a negative, which are just, it's so easy to accidentally do. Even like most like math majors do it occasionally.
すごい。調子に乗ってすみませんでした。
Good.
なんで謝られているんでしょう。
察してあげるのよ。相手の遺伝子が自分より優れていると悟った時の本能的行動なのよさ。
You would do well to remember this too, Makina. I am sure your scores are shocking.
そうなんだ。でも、私的にはちょっと残念かも。
What? That Sachi's grades aren't always perfect?
そう、ここまで来たらどこまでもっていうか、こう、サチにはずっと汚れのないままでいてほしかったのよね。
Oh, I bet if my guess about Sachi's correct, that stings because I imagine she feels horrifically unclean, like unpure. That she feels like rotten to the core kind of a thing.
例えおかしいし。
That's true.
なんだかよくわからないですけど、ごめんなさい。別に謝らなくてもいいってば。全部が満点じゃなくても、私には到底真似できないことなんだから。
From a common sense perspective, it seems completely obvious. No matter how much of a genius you are or how much time you spent practicing, it's difficult for any human being to maintain absolute perfection. That said, in Sachi's case, I have this odd feeling that she's only missing questions because nobody's asked her to get perfect scores constantly yet, and am I just overestimating her? Well, that's interesting, though, because, like, if she's not been asked to do her best in school, then why is she doing so well? Is it just because it feels like the logical step? But again, she doesn't tend to take things into her own hands like that. She usually requests it. Maybe she got like a passive thing where she was told like, what's the point of doing homework? And so it said, oh, you do your homework to reflect what you know. And so she's like, okay, well, if I know it, I'll say it. But she just knows a lot.
でもユミコも言ってたけど、サチならどんな問題でも答えられちゃいそうな気がするのよね。
実際当てられた問題に必ず答えてる記録は継続中なんじゃないかしら。
この学園に来てからということならそうなると思います。
Okay, so remember the idea that she's had training before. It sounds like it might be more of a like cerebral training. Like she's obviously got physical training too, but how does she know where to find everything? How does she know how to do everything? She always seems to be able to pull off these really wacky things, like from sewing up random shark bags or whatever the monster that she made was, sloth bag maybe, I can't remember what it was, to like, I don't know, welding stuff. I feel like there was a point where she was welding something. I don't know. Case by case, ultimately, like, where did she just, why is she an encyclopedia of practical knowledge as well as like genuine, like off the top of her head knowledge, and yet be so terrible at knowing some basic things like turns of phrase? Okay, yeah. You know, if she's been trained, I wonder if she might be even more like specialized training than Yuuji. Yuuji comes across like a special ops, kind of like pure military, insert, like take out target, extract. Sachi might be like an operative, meant to be like a CIA like shadow operative, something like that.
だったら余計にどこまで難しい問題なら答えられるかって気にならない？
Well, I can more or less identify with that sentiment. The girl's a curious specimen to be sure.
じゃあ実際に試してみればいいんじゃね？
そうよね。でもさ、さっちゃんが答えられないような問題を出すんだったら、
Oh, I don't know why I clicked there, sorry.
少なくともさっちゃんより頭のいい人じゃないとダメじゃない？絶対答えられない問題じゃ意味ないだろうし。
You're right, like we have to be, like, if we can't give her a question, we can't find the answer to ourselves.
それならお兄ちゃんが適任だな。
ああ、そっか。ユージって仏頂面のくせに頭はいいしね。
For the record, a sourpuss face has actually no relevance to the academic results.
そうね。ユージの手を借りるのはちょっと尺だけど、あとは任せたわ。
I like how it's a foregone conclusion that I'm agreeing to this. Sorry, what's that supposed to mean?
つまりあんたはサチの解けなさそうな問題を出す係に任命されたのよ。
I guess I don't mind giving her a test, but shouldn't you be asking for her consent before appointing anyone?
それなら、 私は大丈夫ですよ。
Well, I did pretty much expect that answer along those lines, but still.
というわけでレポートよろしく。私たちも手伝えることがあったら手伝うしね。
もちろんなのよさ。
Alright, I guess. Since a consensus seems to have emerged, I suppose I'll go along with it. No need to struggle against the current.
そろそろ授業を進めさせてもらっても。
She's like, it's still class time. Can you guys stop talking? Maybe I shouldn't be saying this to your face, Sachi, but you're seriously a soft touch. There's such a thing as being too cooperative.
そうでしょうか。
Assigned a strange new responsibility by the whims of my capricious classmates, I'm holding an impromptu rooftop meeting with Sachi to discuss the specifics. Blah. Yes, you just committed yourself to an academic stress test with no real point beyond satisfying our classmates' curiosity, if you hadn't noticed.
確かにそうですね。
Although Sachi obediently accepts my words on a superficial level, she doesn't really seem to recognize the situation as inconvenient. Well, if this doesn't bother you, I won't say you were wrong to accept.
その点は大丈夫です。むしろ私みたいな淫乱メス奴隷に興味を持っていただけるのは嬉しいことだと思います。
So, like, why does she say that? Like, that's the stuff that blows my mind. Why? Where did you pick up that phrase?
コンビニエンスストアの雑誌売り場で 一番端に並んでいた本の表紙に書いてありました。
I just don't, like, it's weird. I don't like it. Like, it's either she's just parroting, which, like, that's something that Machina tends to do. Sachi tends to actually understand a lot of the things that she's saying. But why parrot it? Like why? That's driving me crazy. Ah, I see. I vaguely suspected as much for a while now, but it seems you're a member in good standing of the masochist community, Sachi.
自分で意識したことはないのですが、風見さんがそう感じられたのならそうなんだと思います。
Hey, correct the ship. Don't let it go out of crazy.
それに、もし私が M だとしたら、ド S の風見さんと相性はバッチリなはずです。
Okay. When did I get promoted to super sadist exactly?
いつでしょう。
When Sachi gets like this, it really does feel like you're talking to an enigmatic maid with a deadpan sense of humor, but now that I think about it, that impression is probably misleading. The girl's definite characteristics are her inner personality and impressive range of skills. She accepts nearly every request that comes her way, she's an excellent student, and from what I've seen, she's respectably athletic as well. In a way, she's less a maid and more the ideal personification of an honor student, but she takes it to such an extreme that it's hard to keep yourself from thinking she might be too good to be true.
そんな風に上から下まで舐め回すような視線を向けられてしまうと、私困ってしまいます。
Ironically, she's not wrong, but not in the, like, she's taking the improper context of, like, the sexualization part of it. Like, instead of him, like, literally breaking her down and trying to see beyond the surface level. Sorry, can I smack you after all?
その場合、いや、このけだものと暴れた方が風見さんはお好みでしょうか。
Okay, I think a firm press on the reset button is a call for at this point. Let's get back on topic, Sachi.
はい、どうぞ。
There's a couple things I want to ask about before planning out this little experiment. Do you take any specific measures to prepare for teachers asking you to solve problems in class?
そうですね。授業はテストと違って教科書の問題をそのまま出される場合がほとんどですから、一通り予習をしておけば大体のことは答えられます。
So she's not doing the eidetic memory memorization trick. Like, she's not just memorizing the answers to all the common questions. She's actually teaching herself the fundamental basics in advance. Certainly true, but studying until you can solve every single problem in the upcoming material usually requires an impractical amount of time and effort. Alright, I will counter with this. Running a YouTube channel and trying to update a mainline schedule might seem a little daunting. There are different ways of doing it. The way I do it is I just have a maintenance, like, I always run a couple days ahead. I don't go too far ahead for various reasons that are personal. A lot of YouTubers I've talked to have actually talked about how, like, they'll work months in advance, essentially. But for me, I like making sure that I'm mentally kind of in the same place as the viewers who are watching my videos, so I can have, like, real conversations with you in the comment section where I'm not trying to pretend I don't know things that are about to happen while holding a conversation about what's happened in the video. I feel like it just keeps things more real, and I don't like feeling like I have to, like, pretend I don't know certain things. But regardless of that, if you pace yourself and push a little bit so you're a little ahead, and then you just maintain pace, where she's just always studying, like, the next chapter and mastering those techniques, but already has mastered the techniques that are currently being discussed, then she can have an appearance of always being ready without actually having to do impractical amounts of studying. Although she's clearly devoted as well, Sachi must naturally be something of a quick learner. Alright then, what would you do in a situation where you absolutely need someone else's cooperation to fulfill a request?
それは榊さんとみちる様の喧嘩を止めろと。
Right, with a mission like that, don't run into dead end if they just refuse to listen?
そういった場合は許される範囲内で別のやり方を考えますが。
So it's very serialized.
頼まれた内容や状況によっても変わってくるので、一概にこうというのは難しいかもしれません。
I see. Don't really tend to think of Sachi as a flexible thinker, but it seems she does consider her challenges on a case-by-case basis.
それより風見さん、今日は私の部屋に遊びに来られるということでいいんですよね。
Yeah, that was the plan, unless there's a problem on your end.
わかりました。では、また放課後に。
I'm nervous what that means. Right. In any case, today I'm going to be directly observing Sachi's private life. That may well provide me some insight into what makes this distinctly unusual human being tick.
時間ね。それじゃあ今日の授業はこれで終わりになるけど、明日は終業式だから、みんな遅刻しないようにね。
Oh, is this already the start of summer break?
サチサチ、あんた今日は何か予定あるの？
Uh-oh.
風見さんに私のすべてをお見せしようと思っていますけど。
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought was about to happen. What? All of a sudden, 3 of my classmates spring to their feet at once. That was 1. What? Was there a tremor? Can't say I noticed.
自信じゃなくて、サチの発言に驚いたのよ。
私ですか？
だって、すべてを見せるって言ったら、ねえ、天音さん。
その男女の関係っていうか
ねえ、榊さん。
まあ不純異性行為だと言われても仕方ないわね。
I see. The precious nature of your collective delusion is now clear to me. The precise nature, not the precious one. But to be perfectly clear, that's not what Sachi means just now.
はい、私はただこの体が風見
Oh
さ
my
んのストレ
gosh.
スのはけ口になればと。
ストレスのはけ口。
やっぱりか。最低ね。
The chorus draws a few steps away from me and begins to discuss something in venomous whispers, shooting me scornful glances out of the corner of their eyes. Uh-huh. Sorry, Sachi, but please keep your mouth shut until I'm done explaining. Listen up, alright? I'm just dropping by Sachi's room for a visit. That's the full extent of the plan she's talking about.
なんでそんなことになったのよ。
Apparently, Sachi doesn't believe in giving herself free time, and I was kind of dubious, so she volunteered to demonstrate directly what that means.
なんだ、そういうことか。
Once I provide a brief explanation of the circumstances, my 3 interrogators cool down surprisingly easily. Amane's tone suggests she's all but lost interest. Not that I'm complaining, but you're strangely understanding.
だってそれ私たちも見せてもらったことがあるから。
Okay. She has.
まあ、考えることはみんな同じっていうか、私たちもあんたと同じことが気になったわけ。
I'm actually kind of glad. I'm glad that we're not treading on new ground because it seems bizarre that nobody else would want to understand. So, what's going on behind that curtain?
それは自分の目で確かめた方がいいわ。きっと口で説明されても納得できないと思うから。
Huh. In other words, their own version of this field trip must have left a decidedly ambiguous impression.
一応言っておくけど、女の子の部屋では紳士的にね。
Yes, dear. Yeah, I'll make a conscious effort not to disrupt Sachi's private life any more than necessary.
そういう意味じゃないんだけどね。
Sakaki heaves a small sigh. Makina, who's shown absolutely no interest in the conversation up till this point, promptly straddles over and yanks on her sleeve.
安心したか？
何が？
Alright then, would you meet at the lobby in an hour or so work for you?
はい、よろしくお願いします。
ま、勝手にやったらいいわよ。私には全然関係ないんだから。
That is definitely not the appropriate word, literally, because it's literally the opposite. What's with the glare? I meet you do. Considering how little you supposedly care, I find it slightly odd you've been tailing me since I left the classroom.
別に尾行なんてしてないわよ。私の視線の先にたまたまあんたがいるだけっていうか、私の部屋にも遊びに来なさいよね。
Are you sure you want that, Michiru? We know what's in that room. The big bunny with the name. And there she goes. Probably just wanted to say that last bit from the very beginning. The Tsundere's lot is not a happy one. Hey, Sachi. I think we're going to end things here for today. Let's save the Follow Sachi Day for next week. Thank you all so much for being here today. This has been a fun episode. I feel oddly relaxed. Like, I always have fun doing this. This is always a good way for me to de-stress and just decouple and kind of let myself be myself. But for some reason tonight, I'm just feeling really good. So I'm always happy to be able to share this kind of stuff with you. And hopefully you've been finding my comments and random rants interesting as usual. I guess I don't know if it's usual or not. You seem to come back every week, so that there must be something there. I'm really grateful for you for that, by the way. Like, the fact that anybody shows up for any of these videos means the world to me. A lot of reflection that I've been doing lately has been about, like, how I'm not sure if this channel will ever be on a trajectory towards success as a channel, like, you know, being able to make big bucks or a career. I'd love to. You have no idea. Like, now that I'm in the job market again, like, it would be so nice to be able to do this and be able to actually make a living off of it. But that's the thing, is I'm not willing to do whatever it takes to make that happen. And so the fact that I'm making content I love and that there's anyone out there who likes what I'd love to do, that's more than enough for me. So thank you. The fact that there are members and patrons who are directly supporting me and helping me just keep the resources going that makes the back end of all of this work really well, I really appreciate you. Like, before, when I started this channel financially, I just didn't have a lot of excess resources to work with, and so I kind of just was playing by the seat of my pants. And now, because the circumstances changes just in private life as well as because of your support, I've had a lot more flexibility, which has let us explore a lot more interesting games and a lot more games at one time. So thank you so much for that support. But if you're even here, like, that's support too. Like, I appreciate everything you're doing and for listening to this, even this outro rant. If you're still here, thank you. It means the world to me, especially because I get to list all the wonderful people that support me directly and their names. Please send them some love because they're amazing. And then I also get to showcase all the fun, like, art and music in the game for one last little shout out. So thank you. Thank you for joining me, and until next video watching me, I've seen me next. I'll see you there.